Okay, welcome back, everybody. So, I will make an attempt to give you a refresher course on what is happening in ergonomics and physiotherapy in the industrial sector. So, no detailed presentations here. So, I was mentioning that the prevalence of musculoskeletal disorders is very high all across the world, particularly in our country where the figures are quoted as between 75 to 78% in all the published studies, including ours. And among the conditions, chronic diseases accounting for the years lived with disability, low back pain accounts for number 1 and neck pain number 4. So these are very major problems, not only in workers, but in the entire population. And the net result is very high medical costs of treatment, absenteeism, loss of productivity, presenteeism, and you name it, work disability. I'm going back. Okay. So this is something I have developed of late, just an overview. I'll just pick out one or two. There's no time to do the entire thing. So this is my approach to ergonomics and occupational health. So this approach is data-driven and evidence-based approach. We use risk stratification. We don't have a formula for treating everybody the same way. So every worker has a risk stratification, which we call the pain phenotype score, and we offer individualized person-centered care. There's a lot of emphasis on disability prevention and integration. So even if people have chronic pain or mental health issues, we want them to continue working. We don't like workers going off work. There is a robust ergonomic improvement process. We have a model of ergonomic workplace analysis. Very briefly, I'll mention that. One of the key principles is participatory ergonomics. If your workers are not on your side and they're not participating, your program is not going to work. A lot of emphasis on awareness, education, and informed self-management, knowledge of work style, and somatic awareness. Again, I'll spend a few minutes speaking about that. And our treatment approach, which is a skilled physician-led interdisciplinary rehabilitation protocol. Health promotion or total wellness using a functional lifestyle medicine approach. Promotion of activity and movements. Return on investment is key if your program is to get the management support. Actionable and sustainable recommendations. New employee orientation and functional capacity evaluation. And surveillance. So I'll just pick some 4 or 5 things and just cover that in this talk. So the topic that was given to me was ergonomics and physiotherapy. So the question is that enough? Can you just have a physiotherapist coming to your industry who's also somewhat trained in ergonomics, and is that going to be sufficient? So one of the papers, which was the winner of one of the awards in this conference itself, which was held in Bangalore in 2016, tried to answer that question. Does the addition of physician consultation and physiotherapy improve outcomes on an on-site ergonomic intervention program for work-related musculoskeletal disorders? So what we did here briefly, of course, the background is that there is a very severe shortage of ergonomists in India. Hardly anybody has any qualification or a certification because there are no training courses in ergonomics in India. The first one is going to be launched this year, but so far there is no course in India. So people do online courses which are not qualifications. And most of the professionals who are currently providing ergonomic services in India have received either no training at all in ergonomics or very minimal anecdotal type of training. There are 2 types of programs that are currently offered. One is a one-off service where an industry calls for an ergonomic assessment. So they say that, okay, this year we will do an ergonomic assessment. So all the work processes are analyzed and some sort of training is also usually given to the workers. Other one is an ongoing type of an engagement where there are on-site medical teams available, where there's a physician who provides medical consultation, physiotherapists are available, training is given, individual workstation assessments are done for each employee, not work processes, and there is a follow-up. So this particular study tried to look at about 1,500 employees of two different IT companies in India, which we call them ITA and ITB. ITA had about 780 workers analyzed who underwent just a one-off ergonomic workplace analysis, some modifications to their workstations, and training on a one-time basis from a physiotherapist cum ergonomist. And the other group of roughly the same number received an assessment and diagnosis from an orthopedic and rehabilitation physician cum ergonomist, and an ergonomic workplace analysis, workstation modifications, training, and sequence protocol-based manual physical therapy from a physiotherapist for about 2 weeks at least. And the prevalence of regional distribution of symptoms was not very different in the two groups: neck, shoulder, lower back, and other areas. And the protocol that we followed is a 4-stage protocol depending on the severity of pain. When the visual analog scale is more than 8, it is severe pain. Goal of treatment is pain relief and restoration of flexibility. Phase 2, where VAS is between 6 to 8, ergonomic modifications and functional training is added. Phase 3, when pain is much less, postural retraining and strengthening. And phase 4 is a maintenance phase to prevent recurrence of symptoms. So the main outcome measure here was how many of them had recurrence of symptoms. Initially, most of them reported improvement, but how many of them had a recurrence of symptoms? So here clearly 18% in the first group, where only a one-off intervention was provided, had recurrence of symptoms, whereas in the other group, only 6% had. So the conclusion was that addition of a physician consultation and some sort of a protocol-based rehabilitation is much better than a one-off event where an ergonomic assessment is done and some cursory training is provided. So this is the pain phenotype score. I'm not going to go into the detail. I'll only mention the items that we do. Each one has 5 subsections. So disability beliefs. So these are the prognostic factors for a worker who has a work-related MSD. So how severe their condition is, what is the prognosis in terms of recovery, how quickly they're likely to get better, how long they're likely to take to improve, as well as what sort of interventions may be required. That is the purpose of this phenotyping. So the main items here are disability beliefs among the workers, effect of the symptoms on activities of daily living, effects on their self-efficacy, whether they can manage this on their own or not, intensity and nature of pain, ability to continue working, known mental health issues, central and peripheral sensitization, hours of continuous pain per day, how many areas in the body are affected, what are their expectations regarding recovery, whether they have avoidance behavior, so they try to avoid moving or trying to avoid doing any exercise in the fear that they may have recurrence of pain, whether they have neuropathic symptoms, whether they have disturbed sleep, whether they have perceived injustice, why me, why not others, pain catastrophizing, and self-perception. So these are all the key prognostic indicators, and we give them scores according to this. Scores between 21 to 40 is categorized as mild, and usually they require ergonomic modifications and stretches, and the recovery usually takes less than a month. When the score is between 41 to 60, that's moderate. We add incrementally the rehabilitation according to the protocol I mentioned. Recovery usually takes around 1 to 2 months. Stage 3, we have to add several other things, mind-body techniques, maybe yoga, tai chi, EMG biofeedback, aquatic therapy, etc. Of course, not possible on-site, but other things are. And usually 3 months is the time expected. More than 80 score is complicated. Usually they have neuropathic pain, so more medication may be required. Recovery may take up to 6 months, and it is unpredictable. So the first version of this was published more than 10 years ago. It was called the Severity Score, and it was presented as a special session in the World Ergonomics Congress in Brazil. So, no, I've gone back. Okay, so the workplace analysis, again, has 3 stages. So the current ISO guidelines say that when you do an ergonomic assessment, you do not just put something out of the hat, like a RULA or a REBA, that every worker, I will do RULA, I will do REBA, or I will do OVAS, or it's not like that. So the clear-cut rules are, you have to do it in 3 stages. Stage 1, you have a broad tool where you assess all the risk factors, including repetition, manual handling, hazardous posture, environmental factors, psychosocial stresses, everything has to be quickly assessed. And then if you find risk, then you go to a second level assessment, and if needed, a third level where you use such specialized tools in detail. So everybody does not get assessed by just one tool. So you have to have a broad assessment initially, and the tool that is recommended is called ErgoCheck, where we can even now do it through an app virtually. So you can do it sitting thousands of miles away. Second level is a quick assessment, and third level, where you have to do more detailed assessments, you have revised NIOSH lifting equation, Snook tables, OCRA, and so on. For some reason, I keep going back. So some of the, I think we have 3 or 4 publications on the outcome of on-site work-related MSD clinics in various industries. This is the latest one. I think in 2019, it was in the World Ergonomics Congress in Italy, and it was published in a book as well. So 12,000 IT professionals, 94% reported complete resolution of symptoms. Remaining 6 had partial recovery, but they were able to continue work. So not a single worker had to take time off or go off sick. Everybody continued working with this early intervention, early diagnosis, and on-site provision of rehabilitation and medical facilities. And many, many lakhs of workers have already been treated by this. I think it sometimes goes forward and sometimes back. Okay, so now, of course, after the pandemic started, everything has gone online, more or less. Still in many industries, it is being done online. So this is another study that we presented last year, I think. 5,000 IT professionals treated completely virtually. No contact at all in person. So what these workers underwent, most of them were working from home. They underwent occupational health teleconsultation, usually a Zoom call for 15 to 20 minutes. They underwent telerehabilitation, including exercises using a software. Each person was given a customized exercise plan which had videos and explanations of how to do the exercises, various self-help remedies, functional lifestyle medicine interventions directed at sleep, mental health or stress, activity, so on, nutrition, etc. Psychological and behavioral approaches like pain reprocessing therapy, mindfulness, and so on. Virtual ergonomic workplace analysis was done for everybody using an app. So remotely, we were able to assess their home workstations and give very precise recommendations using ROSA and other tools, and what sort of equipment to purchase. And the result was 92% who were treated remotely reported either complete or near complete resolution of symptoms, and 8% reported partial recovery, and yet they were able to continue working. Nobody had to leave the job because of symptoms. And 96% reported a significant improvement in work productivity and quality of life. So even remotely using these basic principles, one can have a very good result. So there is a concept called work style, which means that when faced with excessive work demands, how a worker responds physiologically, psychologically, etc., to those increased work demands determines whether they are going to develop a work-related MSDs. For example, a computer professional faces a very stiff deadline, does not have very good relations with his co-workers, boss is shouting at him, his muscles will tighten up, he will adopt all sort of peculiar postures, he will start banging the keyboard. A lot of physiological changes, his heart rate will totally become abnormal. So this work style is a very important way to address symptoms in these workers. So we have a questionnaire, one of the study is mentioned there. So this is more than 10 years ago, very big study we did looking at psychosocial risk factors in IT professionals. And there's a questionnaire, work style questionnaire, by which you can judge their susceptibility. If workers are found to be at adverse work style, who typically adopt these abnormal compensatory maneuvers when faced with excessive work demands, then we use methods like EMG biofeedback, somatic feedback, where you can even use simple things like oxygen saturation, heart rate, variability, respiratory rate, etc., to give them feedback and help them reduce the stress levels. Return on investment is another big thing, and this is something which will determine whether the management will continue with your program or not. So I think from India, this is the only publication so far in 2012, where we showed that the worker productivity increased by 20%, and the company saved 25,000 rupees per worker per annum because of the ergonomic intervention program. Surveillance is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and one of the new tools is called the Latin questionnaire. Hopefully, you'll be hearing about this in the Primus. There'll be a workshop on this in the upcoming Primus conference. It's a software-based tool by which we follow up workers at risk of work-related MSDs. And there are 3 levels of the interventions, where in the level 1, all the workers quickly are assessed to look at their susceptibility and the severity of this condition exposure. Then clinical examination is done for the selected workers who are at high risk, and then specific investigations are done. So just a very quick run through I made of what is happening in the field of ergonomics and occupational health. There's a lot of emphasis now on using technology. A lot of wearable devices are being used. So you have posture trackers which judge how the worker is sitting. The moment they start slouching, the tracker beeps and vibrates. There are a lot of wearable devices which monitor heart rate variability. It monitors various physiological parameters. So not only for diagnostic purpose, but also as biofeedback, these can be used. So a lot of interesting work is going on in this field, and you'll hear more of this in the days to come. Thank you.